waiting for that to depart the start line.
I have a feeling, Jack, there'll be a bit of smoke.
Potentially. From that fantastic sort of super touring car era. Here we go. Not the most amount of smoke in the world, but it's moving around a lot, isn't it? Moving around an awful lot. Underneath the bridge now and through the first sector split, hurtling up towards Moulcombe. Using all of the road through that left-hander. Next up is going to be one of the Euro NASCAR entries, so keep an eye out for that one in the hands of Thomas Ferrando. That'll be leaving the start line soon. But Stevens, meanwhile, is about to come to the top of the hill. Don't think we're going to see him go quickest. Mark Higgins at a 51.08. It's going to be somewhere in the 63s, and it is a 63.51 then. And here is that Euro NASCAR I just mentioned in the hands of Thomas Ferrando. Fantastic noise from the engine. You see the Mustang logos on the front and the back.
The classic Mustang triple lights at the back.
Yeah. We've also had the other Euro NASCAR start in the hands of Jerome Galpin as well. That's about to come underneath the bridge. But here comes Ferrando across the line. And it is going to be another 64.60, so fractionally slower. And let's see what Jerome Galpin can do now. Here he is in the other Euro NASCAR. The sort of these are silhouette cars, so that one looked like a Mustang, this one looks like a Chevy, but they're the same, essentially the same car underneath. Galpin taking it very, very steadily there, so he's going to be going a lot slower than the other Euro NASCAR. Now picks up the speed.
Don't forget, for a lot of people, this is their first run up the hill, so feeling their way quite sensibly.
69.49, and of course it is just practice, it's not full on.
Here's Andy Newell in the fabulous McLaren M8F Can-Am car. Remember the glory days of the Bruce and Denny show in Can-Am in the States, where the orange McLaren swept all before them. This one won the Can-Am Championship in the hands of Peter Revson. 8-litre V8, huge intake, trumpets, and a 54.92 for Andy.
Next up is another McLaren, a little bit more modern, although Nick Heidfeld has just left the line in his Mahindra Formula E car. So the other McLaren you can see out there is the 570S GT4, but that whistle of the M4 Electro with Nick Heidfeld, the record holder here at Goodwood, making his way up the hill in this all-electric single-seater, which has its next race in New York City in 2 weeks' time. Heidfeld has had a couple of podium finishes this year, and the car looks surprisingly stable because, of course, it's used to racing on street circuits, whereas most of the other cars are used to being on permanent street courses. It's not too bumpy, this Goodwood hill climb, but not quite as smooth as a proper racetrack.
Nick taking it easy on his first run up the hill in this car. It'll get gradually quicker over the weekend.
So there we go, an all-electric car going just fractionally slower than that Subaru Impreza. This, meanwhile, is Anthony Reid
in the fabulous Polish designed and built Arinera Husaria, which is Polish for hussar. Looks like $1 million car, but actually is not nearly $1 million. Big V8 in the back. Anthony has topped the times here on more than one occasion. Brilliant driver, development driver for Aranera.
Next up is Billy Johnson, doing a few burnouts by the looks of things in his Ford Mustang GT4. This modern car from 2017, and I don't think he's using it for timed practice, is he? I think he's using it to entertain everybody. And you won't hear any complaints, I don't think, for that.
So Billy not going for a time, but as Jack said, entertaining us with some smoky twitches of the GT4 Mustang.
So his lap time is going to be relatively inconsequential, and he goes 16th quickest, 30 seconds off the pace, but not really pushing. Next up is another of our NASCARs. This is Ed Berrier in the Chevrolet SS. But we've got a very exciting car coming up next after Berrier's finished. That is the Ferrari single-seater from 1965 in the hands of Joe Colasaccio. So keep an eye out for that one coming up the hill. We'll be leaving the start line soon. Berrier crosses the line and he goes 9th on a 63.95. But here comes the Ferrari now up towards Moulcombe.
Lovely flat 12, 1.5 litre. Reminds us of John Surtees, world champion, works Ferrari driver. I love the way the racing Ferraris had their number plate on the back. Presumably they tested them around the streets of Maranello. Here's the Freddie Dixon Riley, typical pre-war Brooklands racer. Surprisingly quick, little 1.5 litre engine. And the Riley engine, of course, formed the basis for the ERA engine. So pre-war at Brooklands, Rileys were the cars to have in sports car racing. And Freddie Dixon, who was quite a tough character, made him go really quick.
Here comes the 1936 Bentley, William Metcalf at the wheel.
This is the Pacey Hassan, developed by Walter Hassan for Bill Pacey. Did a lap out Brooklands of 129 miles an hour, which is going a bit. And remember, Brooklands was very bumpy, so half of that was in mid-air. There's some smoke for us.
You just can't imagine it, can you? Doing 120, 30 miles an hour in these cars around Brooklands. Just unbelievable. Do go to the Brooklands Museum and to see Brooklands if you get a chance, because it is a wonderful place, and I learned an awful lot there. And it was the precursor to Indianapolis, of course. As Metcalf now comes into Moulcombe.
Couldn't have a much narrower body on a Bentley. Pacey has a very famous Bentley.
Now the car that's just left the start line is Nick Jarvis in his Ford Escort Cosworth from 1997. So keep an eye out on him. Here he comes now, about to come under the bridge. And that car with Carlos Sainz, his name emblazoned on the side. Carlos Sainz Sr., of course. As he gets onto the brakes into Moulcombe, it's amazing how relatively quiet it sounds.
They get really early on the power through Moulcombe.
Yeah.
Really identifies the professional racers, how early they get on the power.
got the Ford RS 200 Evo 2 of Pat Doran about to leave and has just left the start line as well. So here comes Jarvis to cross the line. And there on the screens it is.
This is going to be quick.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be off. It's going to be in the grass, sliding. And he's gone heavily off the back road there into Moulcombe. And that is going to cause us a little bit of a delay. I don't think we're going to see that Mitsubishi heading off before too long. But a big moment there. And the marshals immediately head towards the scene of the off at Moulcombe. And the marshal there, you can see, telling James in that 207 car just to, and the red flags are out, unsurprisingly, after that accident. So we'll be stopping the hill climb for the moment. And you can see that next car that was due to go out is James Grint in his Mitsubishi Mirage RX, one of the rallycross entries, and he's going to get rolled back now. And I can see, there we go, climbing out of the car now. It's good to see. That's Pat Doran, who has gone in pretty heavily in that Ford RS 2000. Well, let's have a look at it again. Just lost the back end way before Moulcombe, then sort of cut across, looked as though he might have saved it, but it was never going to end well. Almost ripped the whole of the back off the car and took out a couple of bales too to go with it. Wonderful super slow-mo replay of it, but that's the sight we wanted to see. Smile on his face as well. As he just waits for the all clear.
Mark Higgins leading the way with 51.08.
I think he means business, doesn't he, here, James Grint?
Wow, fabulous takeoff.
Yeah, that is four-wheel drive for you off the line, isn't it? First 100 metres, he is 0.06 of a second quicker.
We could catch the intermediate times. He's still fastest on intermediate times. Touch the brakes on the swerve, and then now into Moulcombe, late on the brakes and early on the power. Fabulous round Moulcombe. This is going to be quick.
About a second or so down though at the moment on the quickest time we've seen so far. Now coming up towards the flip wall, swinging through that left-hander. Now 3.4 seconds down, but it's still going to be one of the quickest times that we have seen so far today. Here he comes then. Mark Higgins did a 51.08. James Grint across the line in a 55.86, so 4.7 seconds down. Next up,
the fabulous Zach Speed Capri, being driven by Rick Wood. Just about the ultimate Capri. Rick taking it fairly cautiously. There is a little bit of drizzle, so maybe the track is getting slightly damp.
And we've also got out on track this fantastic hill climb car, the Hepworth Ferguson from 1969, just coming under the bridge now and up towards Moulcombe as Rick Wood completes his run. Now you can see it on the screens.
Four-wheel drive. David Hepworth developed this car. Big V8 engine in the back, and it's been restored by his sons, who've also got the Hepworth Can-Am car and the BRM, the Can-Am BRM.
You say big V8 engine in the back. It's on the back. It's just hanging off the rear of the monocoque.
And sadly, David died a few years ago, and a couple of years ago at Chesley, the boys gave David his last run up Chesley by taking his ashes up in the car, which I think is a lovely way of celebrating your dad. He was a great guy. 79.25 for Stephen Hepworth in the Guyson Bead Blaster Special.